Hello, you're watching Sightline on MNB World, an interview program that invites various guests for a conversation on important themes. And today we have in our studio head of the Tourism Policy Regulation Department of the Ministry of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia, Mr.Munkh-Od. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much for inviting.
Munkh-Od Tukskiril is the head of the Tourism Policy Regulation Department at the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. He's a graduate of London's Millennium City Academy and the former president of the UK Alumni Association in Mongolia. I would like to start our interview from the announcement by the government of Mongolia that the year of 2023 will be the year of welcome to Mongolia. And after the 2 years of COVID-19 related restrictions and lockdowns, what are your expectations of this event?
So we are preparing ourselves for a big number of tourists. Probably you have heard about the number we are releasing. So these 2 years were hard for us, hard for the industry and companies who run tourist businesses. And also it has been hard years for travelers who wanted to travel to new countries and see different cultures and etc. That's why we are wide opening the doors for those travelers who would like to come to Mongolia and see Mongolian nomadic life and culture.
I see. Looking at the Mongolian inbound tourism sector, from which countries the most tourists come to visit to Mongolia?
Mongolia is an interesting country. That's why the whole world is interested in Mongolia. But for last 5 to 10 years, our neighbors were, of course, the highest number of tourists who came to Mongolia, but also Germany, Japan, and the United States were also high in the rank.
I see. In late 2022, the government of Mongolia announced a goal to host 1 million tourists in 2023. And looking at the Mongolian tourism industry sector, does Mongolian tourism industry has enough potentials and infrastructures to host this big number of tourists in Mongolia?
So compared to our neighboring markets, 1 million is not really a big number. We are neighboring two big countries, Russia and China. So Russia has more than 180 million tourists on its own. And about China, the whole world is expecting Chinese tourists. They have been waiting for them for the last 2 years. That's why if we look at the market, there is enough potential for the tourists who would like to come to Mongolia. But on the other hand, if we are ready, and I would like to say yes. For the last couple of months, we have been working together with all Mongolian tourist organizations as a one family. If we talk about a couple of years ago, government was working here on their own, and tour operators were working here. So we didn't have kind of enough communication and enough partnership together. So this year, since our Minister Batirtan has elected, he was preparing the organizations and the government as one whole family. That's why we are working together, so I think we can have it.
In other words, the ministry is working to strengthen the interoperability between the stakeholder organizations.
We have been working on research, what is our facility potential, and also at the same time we are working to increase it. So after 2023, Mongolia can be ready for even 3-4 million tourists.
Okay, I see. When we talk about the tourism industry, like every country has its own particularity. For example, when we talk about like casinos or gambling, everyone is expected to go to Las Vegas or Macau. When we talk about food lovers, they go to France or Spain. What is the attraction of Mongolia?
So Mongolian nomadic lifestyle is one big unique thing itself. But also there are tourists who'd like to see city life, urban life, city nightlife, and etc. So Mongolia is an interesting country, and also at the same time it has potential to show nomadic life, wildlife, and also urban life at the same time. That's why together with the tour operators and organizations we are preparing to make new packages for our newcomers. Well, by late 2019, we have hosted more than 600,000 tourists. So it gave us big experience. And now we are preparing our nomadic life, wildlife trips, and also preparing city life trips and packages at the same time.
I see. When we talk about the tourism industry, it's a driver of local economy. And what is the percentage of the tourism industry in Mongolian GDP?
The Mongolian government has named tourism as our third biggest industry. But at the moment, Mongolian tourism is just giving 10% of Mongolian GDP. So from this year, we are expecting this number to be growing higher.
Growing higher up to 20?
Well, we don't know about the other sectors. We know our sector, it will grow for sure, but to make the percentage, we also have to study about the other sectors, you know. For example, today, the Ayutthaya is opening the big mining sector. I'm sure, yes, ground mining opening. That's why I think it will also affect quite big to the economy. But about our sector, we are also working hard together with the private companies and government all together. So for sure it will increase, and then it won't just happen this year. It will be increasing year by year, step by step. So even after 2025, this number will be still growing higher and higher. That's why the influence of Mongolian tourism to Mongolian economy will be growing and growing.
According to official data, 42,000 foreigners visited Mongolia in the first 3 months of 2023. One study suggests that one foreign tourist spends around $1,983 per week in Mongolia. Their average length of stay is 7.5 days. In 2019, Mongolia received 600,000 foreign visitors, an increase of 8.6% compared to the previous year. The COVID-19 pandemic has severely impacted the Mongolian tourism industry and the industry worldwide. The government of Mongolia named 2023 through 2025 the years to visit Mongolia and established the National Committee on Tourism Development. During the Prime Minister's visit to South Korea in February, the Mongolian Minister of Culture announced that a K-pop festival would be hosted in Mongolia in June with support from 2 Korean entertainment companies. This year, the annual Blue Pearl Ice Festival was held in Hovsgol Province to promote winter tourism. The Camel Festival was held in Mongolia Province to protect and expand the Bactrian camel population. These 2 events were highlights for the first quarter of the Welcome to Mongolia 2023 calendar. We cannot live without mentioning the transportation and logistics when it comes to hosting many numbers of tourists. And when we compare the airfare tariff of Mongolian airplane companies, like the passenger airfare companies, it's much expensive compared to other companies. And what measures the government is planning to take in order to reduce the tariff for airfare passengers that are visiting Mongolia?
So I have mentioned government and private companies are working in very big cooperation and partnership. But also I have to mention that Mongolian government organizations are working very well together to grow the number of tourists. That's why Road and Transport Development Ministry is working very close to us. Together we are working to develop the liberalization of Mongolian air transport. That's why it means that our main door we receive tourists will get bigger.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic that was taking place in 2020 and 2021, for the last couple of years, the tour operator companies have suffered from a lot of loss. And what kind of measures or programs are being implemented by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism to support those private businesses who have suffered like financial losses during this period?
So one main thing is together we are preparing for big exhibitions around the world. This year we have named 4 countries as our main target. Japan, Korea, and our 2 neighbors, Russia and China. So we are working together with the companies who work on those markets, and we are trying to support them in all possible ways. For example, we are also working to make the new loan for tour operator companies and tourist camps, and also for new investors who are willing to invest in tourist industry. So we are calling it a tourist development loan. So together with the Ministry of Economical Development and also Association of the Banks, we are preparing for this loan. And it took quite some time to prepare everything, but now we are really close to release it.
I heard recently several events were organized by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism to boost the tourism industry in Mongolia. Can you talk us about that events?
Yes, and also Mongolian Ministry of Environment and Tourism made several big events around the world. For example, I would like to mention the Welcome to Mongolia event we made in Korea. And it was quite interesting and big event, and many people didn't expect that event to be this successful. I don't know how they didn't expect it, but it was much more successful than we planned, and also it was big shock for Korean market. That's why it will increase the number of tourists who will come to Mongolia. And also at the same time, the embassy of Mongolia in Qatar has made one big cultural event a couple of days ago in Qatar, and also Mongolian many artists have attended that event. And also I would like to note that from this year Mongolia and Qatar is going to have straight flights, so it will also help us to have more tourists for coming years and in the future.
Can you talk us about the recently held forum of Russian Mongolian tour operators?
Oh yes, I would like to express my gratitude for Mongolian Tourist Association. They have organized this event, and we invited 108 Russian tour operators and about 40 media companies. And we made a big forum in Shangri-La Hotel, and also those tour companies have made fun trip around Mongolia. And out of those 108 companies, 80% of them started a cooperation with Mongolian tour operators and signed agreement on working together.
I see. Any other events and activities planned in the 2023 to boost the tourism sector?
So we are planning so many events. For example, Mongolian Ministry of Culture, Mongolian Ministry of Environment and Tourism, and also Mongolian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have made Mongolian event calendar of 2023. And then there are more than 30 events we have planned this year. And also one new attractive event we have recently decided and agreed to make is K-pop festival in Mongolia. Many Korean K-pop bands and singers will come to Mongolia, and we will organize it first time outside of city in middle of countryside. And it's we are welcoming all the K-pop lovers from neighboring countries and around the world.
That will also attract tourists to Mongolia,
yes,
right?
Yeah, it will.
Okay, well, thank you for providing us insights and detailed information about the Welcome to Mongolia event. Well, that was all for the Sightline. We'll see you next time with more stories and updates. Today we had in our studio Head of the Tourism Policy Regulatory Department of the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mr. Munkh-Od. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.